Hola, this is 4th grade, lesson 7-8, page 248. I'm going to walk you through a few steps to keep in mind. I'm going to try to avoid solving the actual problems myself, but I am going to try to set you up so you can solve them on your own. So, solving division measurement problems. Let's read our scenario. The 4th graders at Basilone Elementary School voted to hold their spring celebration at a local skating rink. The 4th grade student council is in charge of renting the skating rink and planning the celebration. Help the student council make plans by answering the questions below. Okay, let's jump right into question number 1. They're saying that the skating rink can be rented for a full session or a half session. And a half session is literally half as long as the full session. A full session is 7 hours and 30 minutes. The student council wants to rent the skating rink for a half session. How many minutes long is a half session? First, I'm going to point something out to you. It's tempting to want to give your answer in hours and minutes, but they only want minutes. So that means we have to take the hours that we have and convert them to minutes. So let's jump over to our notebook here. And a full session is 7 hours, 30 minutes. So the first thing we want to do before we figure out what half of this is we want to convert it to minutes. So let's head on over, and we know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So how can we find out how many minutes are in 7 hours? Well, we can just do the 60 minutes 7 times. And this is where, again, it's useful to know your multiplication, your tables up to 12. I know that 6 times 7, as far as I know, it's been a while, should equal 42. And remember, we have a trick. If you know 7 times 6 or 6 times 7 equals 42, all you need to do to answer 7 times 60 is take that 0 and stick them on the end. Okay, so 7 hours is the equivalent to 420 minutes. However, if you recall, a full session is not just 7 hours, it's 7 hours and 30 minutes. So we need to take that 420 and add 30 minutes to them. And I know that 30 is 3 sets of 10, so I can just go 430, 440, 450. So 420 plus 30 would be 450 minutes. So what we just figured out is the full session in minutes. Oops, almost said full minutes. Full session. And now that we have that, we can get down to the nitty-gritty, which is figuring out how many minutes there are in a half session. So your goal, where I'm going to leave you off for number 1, you'll need to take the full amount of minutes, and you'll have to divide those minutes by 2. You need to split them right in half. And whatever you get, that's going to be your answer for how long a half session is going to be in minutes. Okay, I will throw a number model at you. If you think about really what we just did, first we had to take 7 and multiply it by what? There's 60 minutes in an hour, so we had to do 7 hours. We had to do 7 times 60, and that gave us 420 minutes. And then we had to add 30 minutes at the end, right? And now you guys are going to be splitting that answer by 2. So we're going to divide by 2. There's a lot of different functions happening here. And in order to tell us which functions to do first, we're going to, this had to come first. So we're going to put parentheses around the 7 times 60. That tells us to do whatever's inside the parentheses first. But how do we know what we do next? Do we do 30 divided by 2, or do we add 30? And when we actually figured this out on the notebook paper, we added 30 next, so we might have to add another set of parentheses. And remember, you always do what's on the innermost parentheses first. So that means we'll do 7 times 60 first, then we'll add 30 next, and that leaves the very last step. We're going to divide it by 2, and that's where you're going to get your answer, which you can plug in here. For now, I'll use a variable. They want you to use an unknown, and then your actual answer, once you figure that out, will go right below. Okay, so that was the long form walkthrough for number 1. Let's take a quick look at number 2. This one's about how much it costs to rent out this skating rink. And they tell us straight up right away that it costs $1,250 to rent the skating rink for a half session, which is, I think, what we're considering doing. The student council has $500 for renting the skating rink. Okay, so it costs $1,250 for a half session, but we only have $500 so far. They must raise the rest of the money by selling tickets to students who attend the celebration. And if they charge $6 for each ticket, how many students must attend to make sure they have enough money to rent the skating rink? Okay, so we can't answer this question until we figure out how much money we need. So we know it costs $1,250, but we don't need that much more because we already have 500 of it. So after we take away that 500, how much money will be left for us to raise? And let's go back to our notebook. That means we're going to take our original total, $1,250, I believe, and let's take away the 500 that we already have, okay? And this is going to tell us what we have left to raise. 0 minus 0, 5 minus 0 is 5. We can't do 2 minus 5, it makes no sense. We'll need to borrow. Turn this into a 12. 12 minus 5 equals 7. So what we have here is how much we have left to raise, $750. So why don't we go ahead while we're thinking of it. Let's start our number model with what we just did. We started with $1,250 and we subtracted 500. So now we know that we need to raise this amount of money, and we're going to do that by selling tickets to, is it to get into the celebration? Yep. By selling tickets for $6 per person. Remember, this forward slash can mean per. It can sometimes mean divide. So now we have to start thinking here. We have to raise $750 by selling $6 tickets. So how do you think we can find out how many tickets we're going to have to sell? I mean, you can pause and think about it if you totally know it. You can quit this video right away if you do. If not, I'm going to tell you how we can figure this out. 7-8, this lesson's literally called Solving Division Measurement Problems. So we are going to divide. We're going to take 750 and divide it by $6. And that's going to tell us how many sixes we're going to need in order to reach 750. So you know me, I like using this opportunity to practice our division, and we've done, I'm not sure if we really touched on long division this year, but we have touched on partial quotient, so let's start with that. And from our tricks that we learned, I know 6 times 10 would be 60, but 6 times 100 would be 600. So we put 6 times 100 equals 600. We'll take that chunk off. That leaves us with 150. And I know 6, let me think here, 6 goes into 12 twice. So 6 goes into 120 twice with a 0 with it. So 6 times 20 equals 120. Do a little more subtraction. 0 minus 0, 5 minus 2. And I know 6 goes into 30. I can think of that right now. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. Right on the nose. So 30 minus 30 is 0. You have nothing left to divide. All we have to do now is add the right side to get our answer. So 100 plus 20 is 120. Plus 5, 125. I said I was going to try to not give you any answers, and look what I just accidentally did. That's what happens with math sometimes. You get rolling and you just don't stop. But hopefully this is something that if you are struggling with number 2, you can look at the process that we took here, and maybe this will help you as you move forward to numbers 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. So let's take a look at our equation, if nothing else. We started with 1,250 minus 500, and that gave us 750. But then we had to do a little division with 750. So how do we want to write that? And we, how could we do this? Do we have to write 750? I don't think so. I think what we're going to do, so we know what to do first. Remember, parentheses will always tell us what to do first. So we'll do 1,250 minus 500. And then whatever we got, we just divided. And remember, you can use the traditional division sign, or we can even use this one. I see this used in the answer book, but you don't have to. You can use whatever's comfortable. I prefer this one up here, just for my own personal use. So divided by, what did we divide by? I believe it was 6. Equals, what are we trying to figure out? Students, so I'll just use a cursive S. Okay, we know the answer. You can put that down. Before I set you free for this one, let me throw just a few more quick tips at you. Hopefully this will show up. For number 3, watch out. You're dealing with yards, but they want an answer, I believe, well, we're talking about balloons, but we're gonna have to do a little converting from yards to feet. Please remember that 1 yard equals 3 feet. Okay, 16 ounces is equal to 1 gallon. And on this other page, if you get to it, one meter, when you use the abbreviation for meter, M equals 1,000 millimeters. And just the same, I think we also had milliliters. Same thing. Every time you have that prefix milli, that's what's so great about the metric system. We know that milli will mean 1,000. It's easy to do a conversion. So 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. I think that was a small L, or small m, capital L. I could be wrong on that. And then last one, when we're dealing with kilograms, we are going to once again, I believe, converting kilograms. 1 kilogram is going to be equal to 1,000 grams. Okay, I think that's the long and short of it. And hopefully you guys can crank through at least part of this. I ran a little bit over. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, let me know. See you guys.